Internal Revenue Service IRS Tax News. Reviewing these disaster resources now can help taxpayers be more prepared later. IRS Tax Tip 2020-138, October 19th, 2020. No one can fully prepare for a disaster, but knowing what resources are available beforehand can make the recovery a little easier. Here's a list of resources that taxpayers might find helpful before and after a disaster. Tax relief in disaster situation. There's a link to that here. This page features links to disaster resources. They walk taxpayers through information that will help them after a disaster. This page also links a local news releases and frequently asked questions. FAQs for disaster victims. There's a link to that here. Users will find links to several different pages of FAQs, frequently asked questions. Each set of FAQs is about a specific topic to help people after a disaster. Around the nation, there's a link to that here. This page highlights news specific to local areas. This includes disaster relief and tax provisions that affect certain states. Publication 2194, Disaster Resource Guide for Individuals and Businesses. There's a link to that PDF here. This resource guide provides information for individuals and businesses affected by a disaster. It also covers the help available for disaster victims. The guide can help taxpayers claim unreimbursed casualty losses on property that was damaged or destroyed. Reconstructing records after a disaster. IRS provides tips to help taxpayers. There's a link to that here. This fact sheet helps people who are facing a challenge of reconstructing their financial records after a disaster. It covers how to properly document a tax-deductible loss. Publication 584, Casualty, Disaster, and Theft Loss Worksheet. There's a link to that here. This workbook helps individual taxpayers figure the loss on their property because of a disaster, casualty, or theft. Publication 584B, Business Casualty, Disaster, and Theft Loss Workbook. There's a link to that here. This workbook helps business figure the loss on business property because of a disaster, casualty, or theft. Publication 547, Casualty, Disaster, and Theft. There's a link to that here. This publication explains the tax treatment of casualties, thefts, and losses. There's links to these items here. There'll be a link to this in the description.